Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is First and 12. Right here on KSL News Radio. Alex, Kirry, Mitch, Harper, thanks for being with us on the program. Talking all things Big 12. In the world of the college football playoff rankings, Mitch, you're going to see the bubble watches are going to be really fired up next week. At this time next week, we will have those first set of college football playoff rankings. And it's hard not to look and wonder, and I've been following kind of what ESPN does now. Full disclosure, ESPN they're rooting for the SEC. I'm not saying that like to be mean or say, oh, they're in business with, to a high degree, the folks in the SEC. And I think 2 weeks ago, Heather Dinich had written it up that I think they had 7 teams in, something stupid like that. Maybe it wasn't 7, but maybe it was 5. And they do this every week. And in the Big 12 right now, they still have Texas Tech as being the team that would be the ones to be on the cusp. They have right now, if it were today. So the whole thing is if the playoffs started today, BYU would be in, Texas Tech would be on the cusp, and Cincinnati and Houston would still have work to do. The teams that are out would be Arizona State, Iowa State, TCU, UCF, and then Utah. And then the definitely out category, there are a lot of teams in that definitely out category that you're like, man, how the mighty have fallen. But it's interesting because so much can change over the next couple of weeks. You're going to get into the first couple of weeks of these rankings, and things will change dramatically over the next few after that. You saw it last year. BYU, I think, was 9-0, and they were number 7 or number 6 or something in the first playoff ranking. Yeah, of course. And then guess what happens? They lose the next 2 in a row. What happens after that? Their playoff hopes are dashed. Yes. Now, you had an argument later for some of these teams. But Arizona State, they made their hay and they figured it out. So the playoff rankings are weird because the projections right now have some mix of Texas Tech, BYU. Some have Cincinnati. But you get ranked high enough, Mitch, you could host a game, which is where you want to be in the college football playoff.
I am fascinated to see how this playoff committee puts these rankings together because, unlike last season, the highest ranked conference champions do not get first-round byes. So last year, Arizona State got a first-round bye, even though they were ranked 11th. They got a first-round bye because the 4 highest-ranked conference champs got the top 4 seeds. Now it's just straight seeding. And there's been so many people, more louder than ever, including ourselves here on the show, where they've gone at the AP poll. I'm curious to see if all the data that the playoff has in front of them, the committee, if they actually go against groupthink and rank and put a poll together that they believe are the top teams in the sport. And if they do, I think BYU and Texas Tech belong in that initial field. And I think BYU deserves to be a home team in the first round. I don't think they're top 4, but I think they deserve to be at least number 8 in the playoff ranking. And I think Texas Tech needs to be in there around 10 or 11. So I think the Big 12 deserves to have 2 teams that would be in the field when that ranking is released. And it was interesting you brought up the teams that are out. Utah shouldn't be out to me because if there are only 2 losses or 2 teams that are in the playoff field, why shouldn't Utah still control their own destiny?
I think the way that I think technically they're not out. It's like would be out. I think is different from out. The ones that are at the end.
But if they went out and their only losses are to BYU and Texas Tech, I think there's a real argument for Utah, too, because the way they looked against Colorado, that team was dominant.
Yeah, and their backs are against the wall. If you're a 2-loss team, your backs are against the wall because at the very least you're going to be part of a complicated, messy tiebreak, which we saw last year play out to be complicated and messy. I mean, the very top teams in the conference were all 7-2. There wasn't anybody better than that.
But I bring that up, too, because that's where there's, again, the perception of SEC 2-loss team. Well, yeah, they're in. They only lost to Bama and Georgia, sure. Whereas why is that not the same for the Big 12? And that's where I think that
means more, Mitch. Just means more.
Utah could be a very interesting test on this league if they do, run the table the rest of the way and go 10-2, and BYU and Texas Tech continue to do their thing. There's still a lot of football left to be played, but if you're Brett Yormark in the Big 12, I think that would be kind of a fascinating, put the fist on the table, say, why are they not getting the credit? Because if that was a 10-2 SEC team with quality the quality losses piece, they would be an automatic shoo-in.
A quality loss.
So far, those are quality losses for Utah.
We're starting to work in the basketball vernacular nowadays. But I will say, like just saying teams, hey, yeah, you're not undefeated all the way. The days of just being undefeated and that's the only way you get in if you're in the Big 12 needs to be gone.
Yes.
Right? So the reality is here's what it needs to be. A two one-loss teams going to the Big 12 championship game is hard because one of those teams is going to be a 2-loss team. And you're right. They're going to look at a 2-loss Big 12 team. I don't care if they lost in the Big 12 championship game. They're going to go, ooh, yeah, but Alabama, their 2 losses are nice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Notre Dame, and with 2 losses right now, it may as well have happened 4 years ago. That's how long ago. They started the year out 0-2, but now they're not. No one thinks about them as being 6-2. They're on a 6-game win streak, Mitch. That's very different from being 6-2. I'm on a 6-game win streak. Go Fighting Irish. They will be somewhere in all of that mix being talked about, and you'll watch. We will be absolutely beside ourselves, and yet we shouldn't be shocked at all when we see the slight that you're going to get against the Big 12, I think, when these first rankings come out.
It's going to be really interesting, and I think the Big 12, though, is in a spot where they could get 2. Like, what do you think the roadmap is to get 2? Because do they need Texas Tech to win against K-State this week and then play BYU undefeated? Do they almost need Texas Tech to win that game and then BYU wins out and 1-loss BYU, 1-loss Tech, run the table the rest of the way, meet in Arlington, and then BYU wins, and Texas I don't know. Like, what do you think the path is?
The path is complicated, and the reality is that what's tough is other conferences do this thing where they go, I mean, think of Indiana last year, man. They didn't even get to the Big Ten championship game. You know why? They had 2 losses. They didn't win the tiebreak against Ohio State or whoever it was they had to win the tiebreak against. And guess what happened? They benefited from it. It was a 2-loss team in the Big Ten that they were like,
good point.
Thanks. We didn't have to take another loss because a 3-loss team wouldn't have gotten in. Indiana got in last year.
Maybe that's the path. BYU, well, I'm talking myself out because BYU still has a game against Cincinnati, but maybe they lose to Tech and then they win out, but then that probably eliminates Cincinnati. It is confusing. But I think there's got to be a way for 2 teams in the Big 12 to get in, I think. I mean, the ACC's got Georgia Tech and Miami.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia Tech deserves to be in the mix because they're hammering teams. And you got to respect that. Even though their strength of schedule has probably been weaker than most of the power conference teams. But
that's why they're at 7 and they're not at 2 or 3 or 4.
But I think that the Big 12's got a chance here more than last year. I'm more optimistic about the possibilities of a Big 12 fielding 2 this year. And Brett Yormark said it last week. He believes they're going to get 2 in this field, and I think that'd be huge for the conference.
Let's take another break here. We'll come back around the corner, get to hour number 2. We're going to get you all sorts of fun stuff here. We're going to get our Big 12 power rankings for the week, see what we can fight over for this one. Stay right here with us. 102.7 FM, 1160 AM. It's First and 12. Alex, Kirry, Mitch, Harper. Thanks for being with us today.